So, I saw Solo the other day. Before I went, I mentioned to one of my friends that I was going to go see it, and they said to me that, don't do it, man, don't see that movie, it's awful, life-ruiningly bad. And I mean, I went to go see it anyway, because of course I did, I'm a massive Star Wars nerd. And I liked it. I messaged back saying, I saw Solo, and I don't get why you hate it. To which they replied, you are wrong. And I was like, it was fun, I enjoyed myself throughout, it was low stake and stuff, because I have such a way of words. And they sent me this video which they said surmised their feelings entirely. And it's like 50 minutes long. Like, it's 2018. It was time to watch a 50-minute long video in this economy. Anyway, I got around to watching it and I wrote down my thoughts on my phone in way of defending Solo, and I thought, well, it's a lot of notes I got here. Might as well make it to content because I need the content. By the way, despite my whole Jesus Christ, this video is 50 minutes long. Jenny's actually very entertaining. I watched the whole video, loved it throughout. Her style is fantastic. Check out her video, check out her channel, because that's what I'm going to do after I finish this. But that being that, here's my response to Solo bad. Solo okay. Oh, by the way, there's spoilers in this video. You really should have caught on to that if you're going onto a YouTube channel about a film and you haven't seen it. I'm not expecting spoilers, it's a bit weird, to be honest. So Jenny breaks down her thoughts on Solo into separate sections, and the first one is plot.
If I was the kind of alien where if sunlight hit me, it would burn my skin off, I don't think I would put my slime pool in a room with a lot of fragile glass windows.
Okay, so the window thing isn't really a plot hole. I mean, bad decisions on the alien's part, sure, but not a plot hole. We need to stop calling things which aren't plot holes. I mean, to be fair, hubris is a very valid and oft used character trait, and that's what I would attribute the bad decisions to, is hubris, not bad plot.
It literally makes no sense how Han got away from the guards in the spaceport. Like the circumstances of them grabbing only Kira, who was like an inch away from Han, and then the door closing between them, but somehow not hitting either of them.
I mean, I don't quite agree that they were only an inch away from the door as it closed. I think Han did have some number of paces in front of Kira. Also, the door closed quite quickly. Also, you know when you go into a lift and the doors start closing and you freak out because the doors are closing, even though you know they're not actually going to squish you because they're designed not to, but you still freak out because big metal things closing tend to get you to jump back. I can imagine that's what happened here. You're grabbing a girl and like about to grab the other guy and like doors are closing, you're like, oh Jesus, doors are closing, and you don't grab them. And I think that's kind of what happened here. And the people grabbing Kira were probably focused on grabbing Kira, who was obviously struggling.
And the gate agent being like, somebody just got through the gate, and the guards all run to the gate where they can see and hear Han, and the guards on both sides of the gate looking at Han and running directly toward Han, and then Han just kind of casually walking to the side, evading both sets of guards by putting on a hat.
Okay, Jay seems to be using the word guards to refer to either the hench people or the troopers, or I think possibly both, but they are two separate factions. The hench people are on one side of the border and therefore can't get a Han, so we can dismiss them first of all. As for the troopers, most of them won't care about catching Han. He is on the other side of the border to Commotion, which is where they're heading to. So as far as I'm concerned, Solo is a completely legit person just passing by.
And the gate agent being like, somebody just got through.
I didn't actually quite hear what the barrier guard said. I had the impression she was raising attention to the commotion rather than raising attention to Solo getting past the barrier. I may be wrong, and fair props if that's the case, but that's not what the impression I got was. So most troopers don't really care about Solo. Those corrupt ones who seem to actually be helping the hench people, I think it's fairly easy to avoid them. You can see they're in a crowd. Solo is a con person thief. I think he can sort of meld. I think melding into the crowd is part of his skill set. He doesn't actually get close to any of them. And in fact, we actually see them grabbing someone who looks sort of scruffy like Solo, but isn't Solo, which is a fairly realistic mistake to make when you've only got a rough description of someone to go on to.
Why on earth would he think she would still be there after 3 years? She was getting hauled away and it kind of seemed like she was going to immediately be killed. She's either dead or she's moved on with her life.
Well, I mean, first of all, he's a kid and he's in love, and I don't think you'd ever assume someone you're in love with has been murdered or killed unless you actually steal and get murdered or killed. But also, why would he assume either of those things, let alone you? I mean, if there are any plot story beat faults in this film, it's the fact that it glosses over the fact that Eva makes a big deal initially about how hard it is to get off that planet and away from that lifestyle, Kira seems to actually get off the planet and away from that lifestyle with fairly low fanfare. Basically one surprise hug, and then we just completely ignore the fact that she's actually got to the same place Solo's got perfectly fine, completely defeating his 3-year entire personal motivation. And in terms of the alien people killing Kira, I mean, the impression I got from when Solo and Kira were separated at the barrier was it'd be more catastrophic for Solo if he stayed, where it would for Kira. They both seem to agree on the fact that if Kira stayed, it'd be less severe than if Solo stayed. That plus a small interaction where the alien boss basically advised Kira to stay away from Solo seems to imply to have some sort of soft spot for Kira, which is probably what they were relying on when they assumed that she wouldn't be killed if she stayed there.
Were Tandy Newton and the little monkey alien exclusively added to reshoots? Because boy, it felt that way. I like how they both did nothing and died immediately.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree. Those two characters were severely underused, especially in comparison to how prominently they featured in the trailer, though that isn't a problem unique to Solo by any means or measure. I have more of an issue with Val's death because it was really bizarre how easy she gave up and was like, well, I guess I'll just blow myself up then. It did stink very heavily of underused woman character who purely serves to die to further push a male character's story arc. Although it didn't really even do that because Woody Harrelson didn't even seem to care eventually that Val died, so she kind of stacked nothing. But then again, I mean, would I prefer to undeveloped, no characters over to barely developed characters to die?
The little alien guy was like very starkly just some kind of Star Wars Rocket Raccoon, both in personality and physicality. The main difference being that Rocket Raccoon sometimes says funny jokes.
I liked Favreau's character. His death was surprising, had some degree of pathos. He was played very well and he was funny, even though he wasn't in it much.
I also think it's funny that Han and Chewie walk up like right after the graves have been completed. Were Han and Chewie just waiting right over the ridge, waiting for him to be done so they didn't have to help?
I mean, yeah, presumably they were just giving him time for him to finish his mourning. I assume they were probably standing a bit back and also paying their respects until he'd finished, rather than interrupting his mourning and being like, but the plot.
And why this level of sentimentality from a man who's only out for himself and never mentions either of them again?
I mean, yeah, I agree to that.
The Tandy Newton character, whose name is Val, she was actually even worse because not only did she not add anything, she actively undermined Beckett's only character trait, which is that he didn't trust anybody. Beckett says not to trust anyone. Han, of course, immediately says, you trusted Val, and then Beckett's just like, I trust no one.
I mean, yeah, I agree to that.
Why is Quinlan Voss's space yacht shaped like a tower? Like you would find on Earth? The reason things are shaped like towers on Earth is because you use less real estate.
Rule of cool, I guess. I mean, there are ships in Star Wars already that are kind of towerish in shape. I mean, that's how it's built. Maybe it docks against an actual tower and that's how you board it.
I like how much the final showdown with Voss and Kira was just like the throne room scene in The Last Jedi.
Fair. I mean, it wasn't that similar.
My biggest laugh in the movie is when Kira's like, we're gonna have to get enough money to make a life for ourselves. And then it cuts away to this table that is full of heretofore unseen, giant, generic-looking Earth diamonds.
Were they hitherto not seen? I mean, they were finding in his office. Presumably he kept his diamonds in his office. Don't know, I didn't really keep a lookout for them before they became plot relevant.
I actually don't know why she left Han behind either.
I agree, why did she leave him behind? Huh.
A great twist that would have totally explained this is if after she gets Han to leave, the Mandalorian armor that's standing in the corner of the room like on display suddenly moves and it's Boba Fett.
Wait, you spotted Mandalorian armor in the background but not the jewels lying around? I mean, I'm assuming the jewels were in fact there throughout. It might just be me who's wrong and it weren't, whatever.
He did look a little uncanny valley with the voiceover thing. Like, I love Ray Park and I love Sam Witwer, but I think that one cannot have both.
I mean, can you not have both Park and Whittaker playing a role? I kind of get what you're saying. Like, in Phantom Menace, Park did portray the physical role, but it was dubbed in by Peter Serafinowicz. I just know I'm going to remember that without looking at the name. How does lip sync actually work in film? Like, does Park listen to Serafinowicz's delivery of the lines and then lip sync? Or does Park just do his thing and then later on Serafinowicz comes along and says the lines exactly the same way? I'm presuming it'd be the first way, because if it was a second way, you wouldn't need to dub it. Or would you? I don't know. But no, I mean, I kind of do get what you're saying. After all, when Whittaker portrayed the role in the Clone Wars, he had absolute, complete creative freedom to portray the role. He wasn't having to restrict it to 3 lines that he was dubbing over in the film. It was his own role to then explore and expand. And obviously then having to mesh that back into a physical performance, not even your own physical performance, I guess does create some degree of clash, which might look a bit weird on screen. It did look a bit weird to me. So I guess what I'm saying is actually not against your point, but in fact reinforcing it. But ultimately it was very exciting and fangasming me to see Ray Park portray the role again and get Sam Whittaker to come and voice the role again. So, I mean, whatever.
Enfys Nest takes the helmet off, and it's like a big reveal, and it's treated so much like a reveal that I was like, is that like Woody Harrelson's daughter with Tandy Newton that we didn't know about? And I was like, oh, I guess the twist is just that it's a girl.
Actually, yeah, that non-reveal was a bit weird. I was sitting there being like, oh, that person who I'm almost certain we've not actually seen before, so have we? No, we haven't.
I also thought it was lame that Han helps specifically a rebellion right here in the prequel movie. Like, I thought that was a growth moment for him in the original trilogy.
Yeah, it did seem very odd that we had a Han Solo in this film where he is very pro-rebellion, when he's established later on in the original trilogy as initially being very jaded to the whole freedom fighter cause. I mean, I'm not saying we couldn't have the same plot where we had the whole, I guess we shouldn't be helping the guys murdering loads of natives, but perhaps we could have had it without being like, and now I'm also sympathetic towards this proto-rebellion cause that I'm later on actually going to be completely dismissive of. But again, it is like 10 years between Solo and New Hope. I'm sure stuff happens in that time which you could reasonably become more jaded towards the proto-rebellion cause.
Number 2, the characters. Lucasfilm, aware that the production was troubled and that they were getting a lot of bad press, decided to throw Aldrin Ehrenreich. They decided to throw him under the bus and leak the news that he needed acting lessons, which, by the way, I would call unforgivably cruel.
I agree, it was cruel to throw him under the bus. Bad play, Disney, bad play.
Paul Bettany's just really fun to watch as a bad guy. He's like some kind of evil Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, I agree.
Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of Lando in this story.
I mean, yeah, I agree. More Lando. All the Lando. We need a lot more Lando.
Number 3, the scrubbing the story clean of nearly every joke. This movie started out being made as a comedy, and then the reshoots, I thought, were intended to make it like still a comedy, but toned down. But then you watch it and you find out that the reshoots were actually intended to make it like a drama with occasional jokes.
I mean, to be fair, I was kind of hoping for a heist movie, and it turned out not to be a heist movie, and then it turned out not to even be a comedy, but I did find it very entertaining. I laughed throughout, and I was enjoying myself throughout, so where is that?
Han asks Chewie his name, and Chewie responds with like Wookiee noises, and then Han is like, Chewbacca, huh? And you're like, how? Actually, what I think would be funniest is if they're having this whole conversation, Chewbacca's making his Wookiee sounds, and then Han's like, what's your name? And Chewbacca is like, Chewbacca.
Yeah, I was actually expecting to do that, reply straight being like Chewbacca, because like, I mean, my name is Harris, and it's not an English name, it's an Arabic name, but I don't speak English and say something completely different. It's still Harris.
Also, for the record, I don't like that L3 is like a lady-voiced robot with shapely hips and long legs. Like, imagine how much funnier that scene would play out if she was like basically a Dalek from Doctor Who. Number 4, the outfits. The outfits were so boring. Lando's wardrobe was fun to look at and it had fun colors, but it did kind of bum me out that it was just capes. Like, I've never gotten the impression before that Lando only wears capes and he has a big closet that's full of capes.
I mean, if I could own a wardrobe full of nothing but cloaks, I would own a wardrobe full of nothing but cloaks.
Number 5, L3. L3 gets her own bullet point because, hot take, I hate L3.
I mean, I loved L3, but I guess she was very unironically one-tone social justice warrior, am I right, kind of character. A better plot for a movie. Like, Star Wars is very flip-flop about whether or not droids are tools or people. Like, it's actually kind of weird when you think about it. Like, on a meta level, the only droids we care about are droids we're told to care about, the ones who actually have fleshed out characters like C-3PO and R2-D2. But the weird thing is because we as audience care about those, the protagonists care about those. But internally, no one ever points out, like, Skywalker, you're oddly attached to this astromech droid, and Skywalker's like, well, yeah, I'm actually very pro-droids, right. He's just very attached to it, and no one addresses it. But the only reason he's attached to R2 is because we, the audience, are attached to R2. There's no other reason why he would be actually attached to R2. Like, I think the closest we ever get to anyone actually calling anybody out for this is when Anakin's called out in the Clone Wars for not wiping R2 when R2's captured by the enemy. And his only response was, oh, well, I kind of consider him a friend or family or whatever. And then never touch upon this again. No one even tells him to wipe R2 the second they get him back. They're all completely fine with it. I mean, a better explanation in that Clone Wars episode would be if Anakin replied back, well, the reason I don't want to wipe R2 is because he's actually very reliable and very competent, and I'm worried that if I wiped him, I'd get rid of that whole spark of life he seems to have, which I'm pretty sure is like kind of a plot point in Flubber. And I still cry over the death of Robot and Flubber. That's like really depressing.
So here are two ways that could have played out and like made sense. Number one, she gives a passionate speech to the droid, earnestly trying to urge him to break free. We've seen her do this before and it's never worked before anywhere else. Then later in the action scene, things could be like going south for the heroes, like, oh no, how do we get out of this one? And then suddenly all these little droids charge in and the joke is like, surprise, all these apathetic, stupid looking astromech droids actually did start a revolution. Like, oh my god, it worked. One of them that looks like a vacuum cleaner could like roll in carrying a little makeshift droid flag that looks super like inept, like a kid made it, and it's like a tiny baby droid Les Miserables or something.
Didn't that happen in WALL-E?
Oh, that style suits you.
Number 6, explaining things that nobody needed or wanted explained, and then also the explanations are not interesting. And I swear at some point I read an expanded universe thing that like it's a freighter, so it's like a space forklift, and the reason it's got that notch taken out of it and the little prongs in the front is they're gonna push the crates with the little prong. But anyway, in Solo it's revealed that originally it had an escape pod.
Yeah, the EU explanation was that the ship was designed to push freighters that fit in the prongs, and me, as well as a lot of other fans, were very icky over the fact that this seemed to have been backtracked on. But in respect, it could be both. It could be like a utility prong where you could put either an escape pod in, or a freighter in, or various other attachments. If you wanted to, you could customize it.
Like it's framed like that's supposed to be this huge revelation, like it's a dramatic moment. You're gonna be like, oh my god, mind blown.
I also don't really see how it was a big reveal that it was an escape pod. The film didn't really dwell on the fact but there was an escape pod there until it was actually plot relevant and immediately ejected.
But the Solo movie gives us an explanation about how Han Solo got his special blaster, and the backstory is just that Woody Harrelson was like, here, have this blaster.
I mean, I'm just more confused by the fact that he was able to change a rifle into a pistol just by pulling bits off. Like, is this the ability all space pistols have? I mean, it won't be unrealistic, they are space guns, but I just expected to see more often if it was a thing they could all do. Or was it a special ability that only this one had? Like, was it some sort of Lego space gun that you could change and customize? Like, what is even going?
Chewbacca wears that bandolier, and I always just figured it was like a personal preference he developed over time, and I assumed the things on it were like bowcaster bolts for his weapon of choice. I was never like, how did he get that bandolier? But no, Chewbacca also gets the bandolier in this movie, and the backstory of the bandolier is that Woody Harrelson's team was like, here, have this bandolier. I guess he liked it so much that he wore it for the rest of his life.
I mean, like, once upon a time, I never wore waistcoats, and then someone gave me a waistcoat, and I wore waistcoats, and then I liked wearing waistcoats, and now I tend to wear waistcoats more often because it didn't occur to me I liked it until I tried it, and I tried it because someone gave it to me. So maybe that's kind of what happened here. Like, Chewbacca was like, I like bandoliers, maybe I'll wear it more often, and then he goes and wears it more often. Also, is it even the same bandolier? Like, isn't the bandolier in the original trilogy like one band, but the one he used in Solo kind of has a band and then a bit that goes off the opposite direction midsection?
I never felt I needed an explanation of how the rebellion came to be. Like, you know their mission, so what does it matter? Are we gonna get a pre-prequel about a second, even smaller pre-rebellion that inspired Enfys Nest to start her pre-rebellion? I mean, I'm not really kidding, we're probably gonna get a book about that.
I mean, I haven't watched Star Wars Rebels, but isn't that the plot of Star Wars Rebels? Isn't it about separate splinter rebellion proto-groups that then slowly formed to be the main rebellion group. I mean, don't spoil it to me, I'm going to watch Rebels at some point. But isn't that kind of the premise of that show?
Number 7, wasting time. And then when they reunite, like, their reactions aren't even excited enough given the circumstances. Like, this was Han's whole driving motivation for 3 years. He thought she was possibly dead. And then they see each other, they like hug tightly, and then they just relax back into reserved conversation. It's like, I've been more excited to run into old classmates at the grocery store. Han and Lando's like frenemies thing was kind of poorly defined, and they had more time interacting with other characters than each other.
Yeah, Han and Lando's connection should have been fleshed out a bit more. And in fact, I think Han and Chewbacca's connection should have been fleshed out a bit more. It never seemed to have the weight you'd expect the grand meeting of Chewbacca and Han Solo to have.
But I know exactly why it's in here. It's because Han Solo doing the Kessel Run is a story in the original series, and this movie they decided they had to show the Kessel Run, but they didn't have anything interesting to happen on the Kessel Run. The interesting stuff actually all happened right before that, so they just threw in a space monster.
To be fair, I kind of feel like if they hadn't used the monster, it would have been a much better sequence. I think the inclusion of the monster takes away from the whole I didn't less than 12 parsecs. Initially it was an in-joke among fans that a parsec is actually a measurement of distance rather than time. The way it was originally delivered what made it sound like he was saying he did it in less than, a certain period of time, whilst most people take even longer to do it, implying that the ship was fast because it could do it in this amount of time. The film successfully, I might add, actually fixes this by implying that the Kessel Run is a fixed route of a certain distance, and going and taking shortcuts is dangerous, and you have to be a very skilled pilot to taking shortcuts, which is what the film managed to successfully imply. And because you take shortcuts to cut down on the time of the journey, we come full circle, and it fixes Han's original statement. But considering the whole motivation of cutting distance is to save time, it's kind of a lesser boast if you sort of like, I find a shortcut, and instead of a 20-minute walk, it's actually a 15-minute walk, but you have to spend 10 minutes of it stuck in cow poo. Like, that's not really much of a boast.
I guess there was no insinuation that she's had sex with Darth Maul, but I assume they're saving that for the sequel.
I don't know if I'm amused or disturbed.
Number 9, the sequel. Did any of you guys see the remake of The Mummy that came out last year? Probably not. It was supposed to launch Universal's Dark Universe franchise before they canceled it in shame. See, I always figured that the best way to launch a cinematic universe was like to make a really solid first movie that stood on its own and that people liked. My point is that Solo reminded me so much of The Mummy 2017. They put in the thing with Enfys Nest, but then don't really explore.
I don't think I compared the world building of a spin-off of an already successful franchise to the hilariously incompetent attempt at creating a cinematic movie franchise, because it's kind of the opposite way around.
They put in the thing with Enfys Nest, but then don't really explore those characters. They don't resolve the plot with Kira. They have Darth Maul for a sequel tease.
To be fair, the film only had one real sequel hook in it, and that was Kira and Maul's interaction towards the end, and that was like a 2-minute scene, and a very self-contained scene.
Number 10, what's with all the slaves? Do you know what I'm saying? It's a little creepy because they have like human level intelligence and they can talk and have personalities and stuff, but it's fine. They're robots, it's okay. If even one of them starts to express that they don't like that they're slaves and they feel like they're second-class citizens and that makes them unhappy, you basically have to confront the fact that all of your favorite Star Wars characters are complicit in the ownership of slaves. So if L3's activism is played straight, that's weird and bad because of the implications it has for other Star Wars stories. But
like I say, better film. God, I really wonder.
And her writing is so bad. At one point, Lando's like, do you need anything? And she's like, equal rights? Waka waka.
Yeah.
This would be a weird incidental joke in any movie, but it's even weirder in a movie that has the wrongness of slavery as a recurring idea throughout. Number 12, he's named Solo because he's alone. This interaction is so hilarious and how badly it plays out. So Han runs up to the recruitment counter, acting kind of shifty, but trying to sign up and get off the planet and draw as little attention to himself as possible so he doesn't get killed by thugs. The recruiter asks for Han's name. Han, for some reason, tells him his real name, and then the recruiter asks, Han what? Han says that he has no people, and apparently is unwilling to make up a last name. So, the recruiter shrugs and goes, Han Solo. Han Solo, do you get it?
To be fair, when I saw that scene, I laughed out loud as well.
How did Han get his name? A guy gave it to him. How did Han get his blaster? A guy gave it to him. How did Han meet Chewie? A guy gave Han to Chewie.
That was my response to part of Jenny's video. Like I say, definitely go check it out. It's hilarious. It's very well thought out, and even the parts I disagree with were very entertainingly presented. In terms of my overall thoughts of Solo, pretty much like I said to my friend, it was a very low-stake film. I didn't have to go into it worrying about the massive ramifications it would have to the Star Wars franchise, much that I would do when I go into anticipation of watching the mainstream films. And to be fair, that kind of relaxed me, let me sit back, enjoy it, go along on a ride, not have to worry too much about stuff that's going to happen. The fact it wasn't plot heavy, it was just an entertaining kind of film, I actually maybe enjoy it more. It's not a fantastic film, it's not ground-blowing, I probably won't pay to go see it again. If it comes on screen, I'll watch it if there's nothing else on, but I won't be too thrilled. I liked it better than Rogue One. I detested Rogue One. My issue with Rogue One is I didn't care about any of the characters. I cared more about random Mook who gets killed at a battle more than I cared about any of the main protagonists, with a few exceptions. The last third of Rogue One is a good film. The entire film should be the last third of Rogue One. So between Rogue One and Solo, I much prefer Solo. I actually cared about those characters. I was invested. I love watching Paul Bettany just be a magnificently polite British villain. I loved Donald Glover as Lando, and I really want a Lando movie, though maybe that's having too much of a good thing and it'll ruin it, so maybe not. I do hope they keep making Star Wars Solo spin-off films. I don't know. The two films we've had so far have struggled a lot with their development and their production, and their production problems are very well advertised. Maybe if we get a good Star Wars Stories film, then it'll go well from there. There have been reports saying that Disney have put the Stories films on hold. Lucasfilm have replied that that's not the case, just sort of reevaluating. I mean, we're all kind of begging for a Kenobi film. I think that's more just because we love Ewan McGregor and we want to see him back. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Solo. I don't think it deserved the bad rap it got. I don't think it deserved to be the target of this toxicity that is Star Wars fandom at the moment. I think it would have done fine commercially if it wasn't for how much of a piss baby collective the fans are at the moment. But yeah, what did you think of Star Wars Solo? If you've had a chance to watch Jenny's video, do you agree with her points more than my points, and my points more than her points? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. I actually liked Favreau's character. He had the right amount of charm, his death was surprising, and had the right amount of pathos. Oh my god, did I not mute you? Would have cool, I guess. I mean, there are ships in Star Trek. Stop. Frick. Wrong franchise.
Yeah, I'm feeling good tonight. Finally feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see your princess, everything.